ladies and gentlemen, Force over here. Welcome back to another live stream. I know you guys are thinking, Force, you just did a reading stream. What was that all about? Well, I was feeling tired with that reading stream, and if you know me, you know that I don't like doing reading streams when I'm feeling tired. So I've opted to just do a chatting stream because that might actually keep me awake for a little bit. Also, I do have a bit of a story time for anybody that wants to hear that, by the way, as well.
Fight or flight.
Alright, so, what is there to talk about? Well, I can start off with my story time. Forget why not. Alright, so, I have a bit of a story time of an event that took place the day before yesterday, and an update was provided to me while I was at work today, and because this event took place while I was at work. All right. So, a customer comes to. I was working. So a bit of a backstory. Well, some context for you. In this place that I was working at, I work at a store, and that's all you're gonna get from me. I work at a store, and our store has this small area for self checkout where you have like if you were to look at it with your back towards the doors, the entrance doors on uh, on the left side of the building, you would see right in front of you. You would have like self checkout on the right, two um, two registers on that self checkout's left, and another two registers on the self checkouts right. But we don't really use them that much. But this one takes place in the self checkout area, and I was watching it by myself because other people were doing other things. Someone was in the cash register, and our team lead or head cashier was doing some other stuff as well as taking his break. He was actually in the middle of his break when this happened. But what happened was we had a customer come up to one of the self checkout registers who was using one of our two card only registers in the self service aisle. And an associate, one of my fellow associates, was carrying three items. And they were expensive enough for him to have to, by store policy, bring them up with him to the registers. So he does his job and then he leaves. So it's my job to ensure that all of those items were scanned. Okay? Which I did. And then immediately after I scanned all three items, I asked him if he would like to apply for a credit card that our store provides. He would have saved some money on there. Yes, I'm being vague for reasons. Uh, so he does. So he goes ahead and does that, and then after he's done applying for said card, and the machine basically says you'll have 7 to 10 business days before we decide on whether or not we'll give you a card. Uh, he then tries to pay with cash. Okay, and so, but again, that was the register he was on was card only. So after he goes to that card only register and tries to do that, I uh, have him move toward a register that accepts both cash and a card. All right. So so I show him that. So I tell him that he goes over to that register, and then we basically start it all over again, with the exception of the card, doing the card thing. uh, because, ironic, I don't remember if I had it on me or if he did, but, that thing, that slip is going to be very important later. And what happened was, after we go over to to the register on the, that accepts cash and card, he puts it in, he puts it in the, he puts it in the cash machine to pay for his stuff, but he didn't have the money, so he leaves and then comes back like about 5 minutes later. All right, if I had to guess, it was like somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes later. Okay, at which point I was uh, standing there because he had the items in a bag, but he didn't when he left them there. Okay, but so he comes back in 5 10 minutes later, and then he uh, does some. I don't know what the hell he was trying to do. I don't know if it was a distraction or whatnot, but then he walks up and he says, "I got the $7, because that's how much he said he was going to get." But it turned out he had $107. So what does he do? He leans down, picks up the bag of items, and he bolts it out and he books it out the door. He starts running out the door. And as I see him do this, I have to tell them, hey, you gotta let somebody know this customer just ran off with this stuff. Okay? And so we try to call somebody up to let that be known. And so just like about a minute or two after, like almost immediately after it happened, my team lead actually comes back from his break or his lunch. It was, and he's wondering what the hell's going on because I'm scrambling trying to get somebody's attention on what just happened, and yeah, so uh, so I tell my team lead what just happened because I mean it's seared in my brain. I should know what I should know what happened because it just happened and it's seared into my brain. Okay. So I tell him what happened, and he says, "Well, we'll go ahead and do a theft report on that whole thing later. Right now, we still gotta deal with customers," which is understandable. But then, shortly after that, on the register uh, that he had uh, that he tried to pay money on that register, there was a little piece. There was like a little crumpled up piece of paper, and so I don't know what told me to do this, but I just decided to uncrumple it. So basically, see what it was. This dude actually made the biggest mistake of his fucking life. Okay, this dude forgot to take this little piece of paper, this little piece of receipt paper, and take it with him. Because this dude that stole $400+ worth of items left a piece of paper that had his name on it. I am not kidding. He left the most incriminating piece of evidence, as if the camera that caught him doing this wasn't damning enough. As if that wasn't damning enough, he leaves a little piece of paper that has his name on it because he was dumb enough not to put in at least even a fake name. He just puts in his real name. Like, what the fuck? Like, dude, how can you be that stupid? I literally was like, I poked fun at this man. I was like, dude, this is one of America's dumbest criminals right here. Because if he would have taken that piece of paper, it would have been hard to try to find out who he was, where it would have been hard to figure out who he was. But because he left it there, and because I found it and gave it to my team lead, it was enough to find him easily. Well, yeah, it was $420 worth to be exact. And then I found out later today. I don't know if I don't know when or where this happened. I don't know if it happened at the store or if it happened elsewhere, and a cop was just coming in to provide an update for us. But uh, earlier today, I found out that this man, because of how dumb he was and how easily he made himself get caught, uh, yeah, he got arrested. He got arrested because he was a dumbass. If he wouldn't have messed up in two different ways, number one, using a fake name instead of a real name, which is what he should have done, because usually if you want to try to save yourself, you got to use a fake name. And number two, you leave. He left said piece of paper that had his name on it in the store. When you would think he would have thought of taking it with him. Those were the two key mistakes that he made, but I found out that he was arrested. Now, I bet you I would not be surprised if this man, with all the amount of evidence against him, would try to plead not guilty and try to act like that wasn't me, that was somebody else that did it. You know, probably like what every other burglar that doesn't like to take responsibility for their actions would probably do. If he actually does plead guilty, I'd be surprised. Truth be told, I wouldn't even be if he does plead not guilty. I wouldn't even be surprised if I was a witness to that. Like if they had called me in as a witness, because of the fact that I was the only person there. But another associate, I can't remember her name, but another associate noticed that when he stole the stuff, when he took the stuff with him, was riding in a work truck. Now, for those of you that don't know what I mean, a work truck is basically a truck with a business logo, with a business name, logo, possibly phone number on it. So she noticed that, but I had a suspended receipt that had the 3 items on it. I also had this man's thing with his name on it because he was an idiot. Yeah. Yeah, I found out he was arrested through our security guy. That's how I found out he was arrested. That's how I found out he was arrested and was taken to jail. Was that because of that situation. So and I actually got some thanks by my the security guy and my head cashier because I had that one piece of paper that actually made it so easy for them to find the guy easily. Also, fun fact, when we looked him up on Facebook, it was actually very easy to find him because it was a profile picture. Hey, Trap, how you doing today? Just dropping in real quick to say hello. And to smash that like button. Hope you have a good night. Oh, thank you, Trap. I appreciate it. Already, look at this. I've been live streaming. I've been on for 20 minutes and already we got 4 likes. I'm kind of freaking out about that in a positive way because that rarely happens this quickly. But I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, yeah. That was pretty much the story that I wanted to tell on my side of things. So let's talk about the internet for a second. Now I have 5. Do I? Can I still see 4? But again, it's not that big of a deal. It's just kind of crazy to see that kind of number. But anyway, so let's talk about stuff that's happened on the internet. What to talk about? Oh yes, let's talk about a certain event that was going on recently. Now, I'm not gonna say. Now, I'm gonna look at this in the most middleman way possible. Even though I knew one of the 2 people that was involved in this situation on the VTuber side of things. Oh yeah, by the way, Trap, if you're still here, happy Friends Day. Happy Best Friends Day. That was yesterday. But I'm gonna say to you right now, happy Friends Day. You are one of my good friends. Definitely one of my good friends. Because we got at least one thing in common. We both like Star Wars. we both like Star Wars. We both have a number of friends that we share, and we're both mods for at least one individual. Hell yeah. But anyway, getting back to what I was talking about before I said that. So there was a situation that happened in the VTuber side of things that has brought the whole some of the community by storm. Like irritated them. Hello, Concavitus, how you doing tonight? So what happened was 2 VTubers were doing a stream where they said they wanted people to bring in their designs or their models, something going on there, and they were going to critique them. Now, they did not say they were going to be completely positive. Did not say they were going to be completely negative. They weren't going to be positive Peters or negative Nancy's. They're going to talk about them how they see them, right? Well, one person went on to Twitter and complained about how they were talking about her character design. I forget if it was a model or an actual design of her character, but that's what happened. And people were pissed off about it to the point to where people would quote retweet this post of this person, and they would say, "Well, we're going to do this live stream where all we're going to do is talk positively about people." Now, here's the problem that I have with that idea. Okay, I'm all for being positive, but I'm also all for constructive criticism. Because to me, the most important thing for a person to know is that, you know, not every piece of work is going to be beautiful, perfect. It's not always going to be like that. There's always going to be there's probably going to be like those small details that could be worked on that might be brought to their attention. But at the same time, there's going to be those ones where they're not going to be the best, but it was pretty good. So give them a bit of constructive criticism and be like, well, I would probably work on this, this, and this. But I will say, I have seen the clip, and I will say they probably could have worded things a lot better, been a bit more. They could be, like, if they want to criticize parts of it, fine, be my guest. But maybe it would have been better to find some better wording to use on it. Now, for all intents and purposes, one of the two people that were involved, I know one of the two people involved, and this one person that I know that's in the situation, I have had nothing but good moments. I've had nothing but positive experiences with them. No, and I say that knowing full well that people that I have positive experiences with, other people might not. Okay? I get that. And it's gonna happen. But at the end of the day, I've had good experiences with the people with people, and I'm gonna have good moments with people that others will not look so fondly on, and the vice versa is going to be true, where I could meet somebody that I personally don't care for, but others do for one reason or another. I mean, dude, I remember. Like, dude, there are some people that I know of that I look that I follow on Twitter because of their positive attitude. Are they gonna be having moments of where they gotta act, where they gotta be serious for a time or two? Yeah, we all do. I mean, dude, look at how many times I've made serious talk streams. Look at how many times I've done that. Like just this year alone, I have done serious talk streams about the Donald Trump guilty verdict, which I was very much thinking like, well, the jury said he did it, so and the proof backed it up, but I was pissed off because people were just upset about it just for the simple fact that it was their guy that got found guilty. And we're just finding out that the trial for Hunter Biden is just was beginning not too long ago. I bet you, if this was Hunter Biden doing the shit that Donald Trump was doing, the Trump supporters would want his fucking head. They really would, and they can try to say no, he wouldn't. Oh yes, you would. Because you're defending a man who fucking makes a reference to the Holocaust by saying the United Reich, and I say that's a Holocaust reference because more of a reference toward Hitler, because Hitler, when he was leader, he was commander of the third, he was the leader of the Third Reich, and so usually when people think of the word Reich, they think of Hitler, or at least the Nazi Party. So when Trump says the United Reich, people are instantly thinking of, well, he's making a reference to Hitler. So what's to say he's not going to try to do something that Hitler probably would have done if it was modern times? You know, that's the problem that people have with that. But I also talked about the Trevor Conroy situation, and when I talked about it twice. I talked about it the first time when you had this one teenager, well, this one woman who was a teenager at the time, who when they talked and Trevor Conroy was saying, I will admit he was saying questionable things, but she was too. And I still believe that even with Trevor Conroy's response to what she said, because he came out with even more damning evidence that pointed her out as saying some questionable shit. Personally, for me, the most fucked up thing a person could say, adult or minor, is if I wanted to rape, I would. If I could, if I wanted to rape, or if I could rape, I would. But also on top of that, she even says age doesn't matter in that first post of hers. People got so mad that I called her out on the bullshit just as much as I was calling him out because they thought that a minor should be given a lot of leeway just because they're a minor talking to an adult. And I'm thinking like, dude, he is not telling her, he is not trying to convince her that this type of shit is okay. She is saying it herself. And you guys are basically the reason why kids think it's okay to do this. This is why adults get more flack than kids, because then kids think this type of shit is okay to say to an adult, and then when they say it to an adult, all of a sudden the adult's the bad guy. Well, the adult obviously needs to watch what they're saying with a minor, obviously. I agree with that. But the minor also needs to not say some questionable shit either. Yeah, that's what I believe. As a matter of fact, if I ever saw my niece or my nephew talking like that toward an adult person of the opposite gender, I would ground them off their shit. Because that type of shit has no place in this house, and you are not gonna try to hit on an adult when it's illegal. Well, it's not illegal to date an adult, but it is illegal to have sexual contact with them, because that is statutory rape. But for because even if the minor gave consent, it's still rape, because they're not at the age of consent. Once you are at the age of consent, it's only rape if it's rape if then it's rape if the woman says anything that's not a yes answer. And because people need, because these dumbass motherfucking men need to stop acting like a woman not saying no means yes, because it doesn't mean yes. Anything other than yes basically means no. Yes means yes. Everything else means no. That's it. And then you also had that one bit. Yeah, I'm thinking about that one book that I read. This A Good Girl's Guide to Murder book. I'm just thinking about this book now as I'm talking about that, because that's where that thought process comes from. And also, I have a book here. It's by one of these books that are up at the very top, where a character does get raped at the very beginning of the book, and she basically spends the whole rest of the book trying to cope with that, and even gets involved in a bit of controversy herself. Uh, after shortly after that incident takes place. A little bit more detail on that when we get to that book. But yeah, what's my favorite book? Deep. Let me just say I got plenty of good books that I've read over the years. But if I had to pick my absolute number one favorite book, and it probably will not change, it's the Tears of a Tiger by Sharon M. Dropper. This book was my very first book that I read when my school was doing summer reading. And it was actually a very short book, but it was so powerful. For those of you that have never read Tears of a Tiger, I highly recommend it. But basically, the book is about a young man who, um, after winning a basketball game, uh, drives. He drives on the road, and he's drunk, but he's driving. He commits a DUI, and ultimately he gets into an accident, and that accident kills one of his best friends. And throughout the rest of the book, we basically see this boy uh just slowly but surely just start making a downward spiral uh throughout that whole book, to the point to where they have what is, in my opinion, one of the saddest scenes in in any book that I've ever read. And then the aftermath of what happens in that one scene. I'm not going to say what happens because that is major spoilers, but I will be reading that book at some point in the future. Obviously after I'm done reading all these books right here, because it's not in this pile. But yeah, I probably would read this in October, because I think October is suicide awareness month, I believe, like suicide prevention month. Um, I would probably read it in October because it very much fits that. That and another book which I happen to have bought, I wouldn't mind reading again just for the sake of it being in October. But I'm reading this book also because it does follow with the LGBTQ plus community, which is what I'm doing for this month, and that's this one. Yeah. So I haven't read this book completely. I haven't read this book yet, but based on what was said on the back of it, like on Amazon, which you can read on the back of it, I was actually interested in this book because if there's something I know about the LGBTQ plus community, it's that so many people within that community have tried to commit suicide, successful or not, because of because of the fact that they came out, but they felt like people would not accept them, and amongst other reasons, and so they ultimately do the terrible deed. Yeah, it's such a sad thing to hear as well. Also, I will say I would give a special shout out to the Heartstopper series. I read the first one a few months back and I'm actually liking it. And this is volume 2. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this book. Which I thought was a good idea to read for Pride Month. Because obviously, it delves into let me put it to you this way. We got this book, Loveless, which the character is Arrow Ace. Arrow and Arrow, who is Arrow Ace, which basically is somebody that doesn't really have very strong feelings in a loving manner outside, when it comes to finding a significant other. Yeah, that. You got Heartstopper, which before I read this book, it was about two men. One man who was this one being gay right here, and this one's still uh, trying to figure out who he is. Like, is he into guys or is he not into guys? He's still trying to figure that out, right? But this guy for sure is into guys. That's it. So he is a gay person in that one, but the other one isn't sure about it. Then you got this book. Uh, yeah, Hell followed with us. This book has a main character who is a transgender male. Yes, I do support the transgender people, and no asshole transphobic motherfucker is going to tell me otherwise, because I will still support the trans people, because they're men and women just like us cis male and females. Fuck you if you want to say otherwise. And then you got this one. Now, This doesn't go into full detail it doesn't go initially into LGBTQ plus territory, but it actually is written by a man by an author who is part of the community. So I thought it was fair game. Yeah, yeah. So that's why I got this book, because it was even categorized in the LGBTQ plus LGBTQ plus uh, community there. So yeah, that's the gist of it. Hmm. Now I don't know if there's anything else that I want to talk about. But yeah, that is my favorite book. But yeah, like I said, getting back to the topic, Tears of the Tiger is my favorite book. Yeah, it is my favorite book. I probably will not change it, but I will say that I do have a good number of books that I have very much enjoyed reading. But personally, I'm more of a person that likes to read realistic books than something like Harry Potter or whatever. But that's because I like to watch realistic movies. I like to watch realistic TV shows. I like to read realistic books. But I do know that every non-realistic movie, show, and book, like any form of those medias, will always have some pretty good moments in them as well. But if I had to pick a non-realistic book that I would say is my favorite, I may hate the author, but I gotta pick Harry Potter for that one. I don't really care for J.K. Rowling as much as I did any before, but I would definitely pick the Harry Potter series because I grew up with them. I grew up with the books. Don't mind the don't mind the background noise. I family member getting involved now. I know. I know as we go to bed. I want to have a little chat. It's nothing bad. Shush. Um. Anyway, yeah, that was a family member that just said, "You have to get ready for bed." Yeah, that was a family member doing that. And I'm not trying to mock them. I'm just saying what they were saying and how they said it. That's not mocking them. That's actually saying it how you heard it. But yeah, I would pick Harry Potter books, but because I don't really care for J.K. Rowling that much anymore, I'm actually kind of glad I got majority of the books that she wrote way before it came, way before she started making controversial comments. Because now I could actually read the book for people, and if people want to go off on me for reading these books, I'll be like, well, hey, be thankful that I'm reading these books so you don't have to buy them. You could just go to these streams and listen to me read them. You don't have to buy the books if you don't want to. Or if I convinced you to buy the book because you watched part of my reading stream, that's good. I don't care whether you want to buy the books that I read or not. As long as you're having a good time, that's all I care for. That's all I care about. Easy. And yeah, when I said I got most of her books, yes, I do have most of her books. I got all seven Harry Potter books. I got the eighth book that was basically a screenplay. I've got Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And I got two of the screenplays, if not the third. I don't think there was a screenplay for the third one. But I do have at least The Crimes of Grindelwald and The Secrets of Albus Dumbledore, whatever that one was. Yeah, I got those two screenplays. And that's actually about it. I don't have that one book that is talked about in the seventh book that is given to Ron through a character who dies in the sixth book. So I'm not going to say the name for obvious reasons. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Um, yeah, that's how I view it. So it is almost 2 o'clock in the morning, and I have to go to work at 10 a.m. So I want to go ahead and end this short stream here. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is Forrest Walpole signing off.